Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is Adrian Pilkington, who is entering her 5th year as FHSU softball coach. She has 77 wins in 4 seasons at Fort Hays, where the Tigers have made the MIAA tournament twice under her. The Tigers went 13-37 overall in 2018 and 8-18 in MIAA play. Thanks for joining me today, Coach. How excited are you and the team to actually get the season going this weekend in Arkansas?
We're really excited to get them going. We've seen a lot of good things from this group. I know that it's getting a little monotonous at practice. They're definitely itching to get out there and compete, so we're looking forward to it.
How important is it to get the early portion of the season started off on the right foot, given the team has the first 14 games away?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we've gotten used to, but it is very important. And the hard thing is we're still facing pretty good competition early on, but it's a great preparation for MIAA play. So it's important for a lot of reasons, but mostly just confidence going into conference play.
And last year, the team finished with the 5th highest fielding percentage in program history and turned a school record 22 double plays. How important is it going to be to have a solid defense like that again this season?
It's really important to have a solid defense, and it really helps our pitchers gain some confidence and know that they can miss a spot and still produce an out with a good defense behind them. So I think for a lot of reasons, we work really hard at being solid defenders and pushing ourselves to make kind of out of the ordinary plays.
This year's team has no seniors on the roster. How are you looking for those juniors to step up into that leadership role this season?
Our juniors are really important to us, and they have been really over the last 3 years as they've kind of grown and matured. Most of that class has gotten an ample amount of playing time in their first 2 seasons here. So we're definitely looking forward to them kind of stepping up and taking a little bit of ownership of the program and kind of propel us in the direction we're going.
You have some solid players returning, including some who earned all MIAA honors for you last year as young players. How have you seen players like sophomore Sarah Breckbill, junior Bailey Boxberger, and sophomore Grace Phillip improve from last year already?
I think the main thing for all 3 of those kids is they've just really gained a lot of confidence, and the maturity factor has really made a big difference for them. They've played a lot of games, they've gotten a lot of opportunities. They've seen some failures, they've seen some successes, and I think they've really just embraced learning from them and trying to improve their weaknesses and continue to grow their strengths, and they've done a really nice job thus far this year.
Breckbill was a first-team all-conference player a year ago, splitting time at first base and at catcher. Her 5 home runs were among the top on the team. How have you seen her improve from her freshman season?
For her, it's definitely just a maturity and a confidence. She's got a lot of great intangibles and a lot of great tools that you just can't teach. The kid has some great instincts for the game. She's got a great arm, whether that's behind the plate or at first base. She really embraces her role. So she's done a nice job for us. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what she can do for us this year.
And sophomore Taryn Caldwell started all 50 games last year as well. How key will it be to have her and Phillip playing huge roles in the outfield again this season?
It's really important for us, especially with those 2 kids. Taryn's very quick. She can cover a lot of ground for us. So relying on her speed to make some plays for us that, a lesser speedy kid couldn't probably get to. And just for her really taking charge of the outfield, being in that center field position is just so important to the rest of the team. And, a lot of people build off of her confidence out there.
And sophomore Sierra Rodriguez led the team with 6 wins last year, and junior Haley Chapman was right behind with 5. How important will it be to see them improve this spring?
It's very important for the pitching staff to continually improve and just try to, get a little bit better at the little things. Again, we go back to experience there. Those kids have had ample time in their first year or 2. We've relied on them, in good and bad situations, and I think that they have kind of gained some experience that a lot of kids might not have in their first couple of years just because they've gotten so many opportunities.
And talking about pitching, it's so important in softball. And last year, the team was outscored by 36 runs in the 4th inning of all games combined. Is that a matter of pitchers getting tired in the middle innings, or the teams get a chance to get through the lineup once, the adjustments have been made?
I think there's probably a few contributing factors to that. Fatigue would definitely be one, especially if their pitch counts are high going in, to that fourth inning. Two, I think experience is a big factor. They have to be able to adapt and adjust, especially once the team, the opponent has gone through the lineup 1 to 2 times. They have to be able to make adjustments and make sure that they're hitting their locations with that stuff. So I think the maturity factor, we'll see an improvement in that area.
And back to speaking on your roster, you also picked up some key transfers from the JUCO rankings as well. Junior Allison Jurgensen had a huge season 2 years ago for Butler and was part of a team that made a run in the JUCO national title game. She put up some good numbers last year too before being injured. How do you see her fitting in the mix?
Allie has really been kind of an offensive leader for us, whether that's being, just steady in her own at-bats and adjusting, or whether that's trying to help her teammates in their at-bats. She's a very mature hitter. She's a very knowledgeable hitter, and that's really like an area that, we have struggled with a little bit, and I think she's brought, a different kind of look to that and helped some of our other kids open their eyes to different factors at the plate.
Another transfer, Michael Ann Nelson, had solid freshman and sophomore seasons on the mound for Connor State College in Oklahoma. How important will it be for her to hit the ground running this season?
We're really looking forward to seeing what Mikey can do. She's a great addition to our staff. She adds a lot of maturity, a lot of depth. She adds a lot of experience. She came from a winning program, so I think she's going to be, a really important factor for our staff as we move forward.
Who else do you see jumping out to you in preseason?
We've got a lot of really good kids, and I'm excited to see them kind of go to work. Well, any of our JUCO kids, I think, can be a pretty big impact this year, and they've settled into some pretty good roles on the field. Lily Saleh is always such a solid defender for us, and she's really a staple for our defense. So we look to see her grow even more and continue to make some great plays in the defense.
A lot of young players saw quality time last year due to you guys just not having, that senior role this year. You have to believe that that experience will pay off for this season.
Yeah, we've definitely taken our lumps the last couple of years, and we've had a lot of growing experiences, and relied on a lot of youth to get us, where we're trying to go. I think that group has really, embraced that. They've gotten a lot better over the years, and we're really excited to kind of see them, go out there with some confidence and know that, they're there to compete and that they have every ability to.
If you take a look across the roster of this year's team, you have to feel like you're set up to open some eyes in the conference.
I think we're prepared to definitely surprise some teams, whether that's in conference or out of conference. I think obviously after last year, other teams' expectations for us are low, and I think that ultimately that's going to be an advantage to us going into the season, because I think we have a lot of great tools, we've got a lot of great competitors, and I think we're going to put some other teams on their heels.
How important will it be to get back to that conference tournament this year?
It's really been our main focus as we move forward. We went through kind of a rebuilding couple years. We kind of were living and dying on some young kids. So we really set our sights early this year on just emphasizing kind of the road to Oklahoma City, which is where our conference tournament is. And we've just kind of set our sights on that. If we can accomplish one small thing at a time, we're going to be sitting pretty, and I think we're going to build a lot of confidence along the way. So, we set our goal at making the tournament, and, I think we'll be surprised, or others will be surprised with, how will we do. There's no doubt in my mind we get back there this year.
If you look at the team this year and even the athletes that you've already signed for next year, you have to feel like something big for FHSU softball is in the near future.
I'm really excited with where we're at right now. Again, we kind of had some lumps, we had some growing pains, but we're in a really good place to get out there and compete. The kids are excited, they're feeling confident. I haven't felt this good about a team yet at this point in the season, so I'm really excited to get them out on the field.
Well, thanks for joining me, Coach, and good luck to you this season.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
When we return, we will break down the rest of this week in Tiger Athletics.
He often climbs to the third floor of Rarick without taking a second breath. No matter when he submits his assignment to Blackboard, it is considered early, even if it is 5 days late. The line at Starbucks parts when he arrives. He considers the homecoming bonfire a small flame for s'mores. Every time he walks downtown, it's considered a march to Maine. His doodles on scrap paper are framed and hung in Rarick Hall. Once he parked in a 30-minute zone overnight, and the campus police left him a thank you note and a gift card.
I don't always party, but when I do, I register with SGA. Now party responsibly, my friends.
Welcome back to This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is FHSU SID Ryan Prickett, and he's going to help me break down the rest of This Week in Athletics. So Fort Hays men's basketball suffered a 3-point loss to Nebraska Kearney on Saturday, falling to the Lopers 59-56.
Yeah, that was unfortunately a, tough loss to take. I guess on paper probably did not look like a very good loss to take. Nebraska Kearney obviously struggling this year, and 7-13 now is their record after winning that game, and it was just it was a weird game to gauge, I guess. You felt like Kearney didn't really play that well, we didn't really play that well, and it just, we kept getting so close to getting over the top of them throughout that whole game. It was, we get within 2 or 3 points, or just. It felt like we were right on the edge of taking the lead several times in that game, but for whatever reason, it just never worked out. And Kearney would always hit a shot, or we'd turn the ball over, or whatever it was. But we'd always either shoot ourselves in the foot, or Kearney would do something to get that lead back to 4 or 5, and we just never could quite make it happen. And we did take the lead briefly once in the second half, but right after that, we gave up. I think it was like a 10-3 run, so we were right back in the same predicament again. And so it was just uphill battle all day, and we had our chances in the end to maybe even pull even with them, but unfortunately that one just didn't go our way. And like I've always said, life on the road in the MIAA is tough, and if you don't show up and play even at even our teams that are at the bottom of the standings, those teams would probably most likely be middle of the pack teams in a lot of other conferences in Division II. So you can't sleep on anybody in this conference. And Kearney obviously has had time to probably get better as the season's gone. They are a very young team, and teams like that, they can be scary in February and March because of just being able to play with each other longer throughout the season. All of a sudden they start to figure some things out. So we got some tough games ahead of us coming up this week.
Yeah, and they'll see for the first time this week Pitt State.
Yeah, that's coming up on Thursday night. Pittsburg State, a very athletic team. Grant Lazoya, who is their shooting guard, sometimes plays a little bit of point guard too, if I'm remembering right from last year. But he was a Division I transfer in there last year, and that guy's instant offense. I mean, he can light up the scoreboard pretty darn fast, and he's going to be one guy we have to key on when we go down there. But that's a team with almost basically an identical record to us. They're 14-7, we're 13-7. We're 7-4 in the conference. They're 7-5. So it's it's a tough matchup. It's on their home floor, and it's going to be a tough one to get. And then the game right there 2 days later after that at Missouri Southern. That's another team right there at the top of the standings with us. So if we're going to try to solidify our spot in the MIAA tournament, but also make sure we don't play ourselves into a worse predicament, we really need to try and figure out how to get a road win here sometime soon, because obviously you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself right now to defend your home floor, which we've done well all season, but it'd be nice to get one of these road games here in this next stretch here throughout February, because who knows where those standings are all going to, line out, and we've got to be inside the top 10 to make sure that we're in the MIAA tournament. So.
Right. And on the women's side, they rally back from down 20 to beat the Lopers in overtime, 74-64.
Yeah, what an amazing comeback in that game. That was a weird game too. If you go back and watch that one, for I would say about the first 27 minutes of that game, I don't know if we could have played any worse than we had all year long, and yet, we were down 20. Almost looked like, oh my gosh, let's just try to make this respectable and make sure we get out of here without it being a complete runaway. But I feel like our ladies played pretty darn good defense all throughout the afternoon. It's just they couldn't get shots to go in for a long time throughout the game, and then all of a sudden, Casey Kennett, she catches fire. She starts bombing in threes. We keep getting defensive stops. All of a sudden, that lead shrunk in a hurry, and if you can get to that fourth quarter with a manageable margin, which we did, we just kept putting the pressure on. Did some full court press, gave them some different looks on the defensive end. They started to panic a little bit. I think they could feel the pressure of, oh, here they come. Let's not do anything to screw this up. And so when you start playing like that, and we're the aggressors, we're hitting shots. That was just an awesome comeback and just a testament to that team this year of how well those ladies play together. And it didn't matter if they were down 20, they were still going to find a way to try and get back in that game and win that game. And sure enough, they got it to overtime, and we just kept the foot on the gas pedal, I guess you could say, in overtime, and got out of there with a huge win to make sure that we stay up there atop the MIAA standings, especially with Washburn losing to Lindenwood on Saturday. So we're sitting up there alone at the top of the standings now.
And how does that matchup look for the women, with Pitt being 17-4 on the season?
Yeah, another one of those grinders on the schedule, I guess. You could go up and down that set of standings on the women's side, and you're like, oh my gosh, how in the heck do you get wins in this conference? Because I think about the top 8 to 10 teams right now all have really, solid records overall. It's just it's such a grind of a schedule in the MIAA, and to try and go out there and win game after game on the road, that's the hardest thing to do. And we're going to see a very skilled Pittsburg State team this Thursday coming up. Lane Lord is not the coach there anymore. He took a job at Division I school, but a lot of those athletes that were still there were part of the system that he built. And so they are a very talented team, always a team that was always competing for a regional year in, year out. So we know they're going to give us a heck of a shot down there on Thursday. And then Missouri Southern's one you don't sleep on either on Saturday. They play well in their home gym. They've been progressively getting better throughout these last few years. And it's just a really tough road trip when you look at it with the success that those programs have had. And so hopefully our women will be up to the test again this week and come back here at home with hopefully still sitting atop the MIAA standings. So.
And it seems like we just talked about this, but Fort Hays Track and Field's Brett Meyer earns a new personal record in the mile, where he ran 4:04 and placed 6th at the Husker Invitational this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. You say, the 6th place finish, that's not really the thing that really matters in there. He had 5 Division I athletes that finished in front of him. Actually, 2 guys that broke the 4-minute mile in that race. One of them was one of Nebraska's, I think he was like a freshman or something like that, so great race for him, obviously. But, for Brett to lower that time like we were talking last week, last week after all the dust had settled, Brett was number 1 in the nation, but there were 2 guys this last weekend out in Colorado that put up better times, and so now Brett's 3rd on the national performance list. But he does lower that time and gets it closer to that 4-minute mark. And like I said, if you can keep bringing that time down, you'll definitely assure yourself a spot at the national championships. And right now, when we look across the board in the TFRRS ranking system or whatever, it's a website that has all that information. Brett is inside the top 15 in both the mile and the 800 meters. So right now he's sitting good as far as trying to get into that national championship field. In a lot of those events, if you're outside that top 15, then you're just hoping that, well, hopefully they take 17 or 18 people to the national meet. So that's kind of that area, the area of balance of what you got to try and shoot for as an athlete is I got to get inside the top 15 to feel good about having a chance to compete at nationals. And right now, Brett's the only person on our roster, men or women, that has any marks inside the top 15, even though some of our men are just on the outside looking in some other events. So if they can just improve a few of those marks, we might be able to send a few guys to nationals. So.
And for the women, Morena Goncalves set a school record at the Husker Invitational in the 3,000 meters.
Yeah, a great time for her. Brought that school record down inside of 10 minutes in the 3,000. So it was nice to see how the ladies competed this last weekend. Like last week I said, we need to start, I guess, getting better performances, lowering times, hopefully start shooting for getting some of those provisional marks. Didn't exactly come away with, as many provisionals or anything like that we wanted, but it was nice to see that we had a lot of high finishers in some events, especially at the Nebraska Kearney meet, but also Moreno setting the school record in the 3,000 in Nebraska. I think it really helps a lot of times when you get to compete against that Division I competition and they push you just that much harder. And so, great effort for her to get that record this past weekend.
And lastly, for Tiger Wrestling, 9 Tigers placed in Oklahoma over the weekend, including 4 runners-up, 3 third-place finishes, and 2 fourth-placers.
Yeah, another great showing for Tiger Wrestling in a tournament format. Obviously, the dual season probably hasn't gone as well as we like. Just saw here the other day the Wrestling Coaches Association in Division II has started to put out a set of dual rankings now, aside from the tournament rankings. So tournament-wise, we're a really strong team this year. We're number 10 in the nation now in the tournament rankings, but we're not even in the top 25 in the dual rankings, obviously with a 2-8 record. Things just haven't gone our way in that format. But our guys do really well in tournament format and went down to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M, and that usually we don't have a lot of tournaments right here at this point in the season, but it was another I guess opportunity for some of our varsity guys and some of the guys that are pushing the varsity right now to go get a little more action before we see this final push of getting ready for the NCAA regionals here in a couple of weeks.
Well, thanks for joining me, Ryan. That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of This Week in Tiger Athletics. And as always, to stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com.